Alien Romulus is like the eighth installment of a series that has two good movies and then a bunch of dog shit. The movie is mostly a bland ripoff of the first two, followed by a third act that has more endings than The Return of the King. It was absolutely middling and then atrocious. There was pretty much nothing original about it, and it leaned into Prometheus. It stole from the originals, and it did it all worse. It's interesting that a movie that blatantly criticizes exploitative corporations functions like a hollowed out, corporatized version of the original movies. The characters were all essentially dumbed down versions of what they should have been. There was nothing really interesting about them. The plot itself was simple. There were some neat ideas in here, but for the most part, it's just kind of boring. And then the last half hour to 45 minutes is absurd. It has about 5 endings, which for a movie like this are not deserved. David Johnson, who plays Andy, who's an android, is like the only interesting thing about the movie. But the movie itself is just kind of generic in every capacity. There's nothing surprising. There's nothing scary. There's not very much that's innovative. I thought they did a couple of neat things, but even when they did things that were neat, they decided to make every character an idiot. So it kind of counteracted it. So overall, you end up with a lot of dumb characters that aren't very interesting. You end up with an alien that at this point, after 10 movies or whatever we're at, is unoriginal. They don't do anything cool with it. They pull from Alien, Aliens, and I think Resurrection. This is absolutely a movie that you should just wait for streaming for. And even then, I'll be honest, it might not be worth your time. So let's just get into the plot really quickly because it's super simple. The main plot is that Rain gets screwed over by the corporation. She's been living on an asteroid. She wants to leave. They say she can't. So her and her android want to leave with her and her group of friends. And they find the abandoned temporary station from Alien, the first one. Their goal is to go land on the ship and then fly it to the nearest planet that's already terraformed so they can leave. And that's kind of it. The first 15 minutes are them on this little shitty asteroid planet colony thing. Then they go to the temporary station. Obviously, the aliens are there. And that's where the rest of the movie is. Plot-wise, that's pretty much it. There's not too much to say. And then for the rest of the movie, they're trying to find fuel, get away from the aliens. The face fuckers are hunting them and eating their friends. There's really nothing interesting about this movie. And then the characters are also dumb. So once you get beyond that, you're kind of left thinking to yourself, man, it would be nice if they did something innovative with the aliens and the xenomorphs. I mean, at this point, I kind of wonder if they should just make them intelligent and they should have factions or something. Because all they're doing is just rehashing the same horror notes over and over and over with dumber and dumber and shittier characters. The third act just goes wild. There's multiple parts where you're like, oh, the movie's finally over. They did it. Huzzah. And then the movie's like, we still got more budget and we need to spend it. So then they bring the fucking aliens in again. They do the same dumb shit again. It's all stuff that you've seen before. They literally use lines from the first two movies, including the "Get away from her, you bitch." They literally reuse Bilbo as the android. He's a big part of the movie. There's multiple times throughout the movie where they're told explicitly hey, this person is dead. This person is impregnated by a fucking alien. And they just make dumb decisions anyway. So what you end up with is just a bunch of young retards in what kind of feels like a YA movie in space. And then it ends. And then it ends. And then it ends again. Because it will just not fucking go away. There's also some parts in the movie that are supposed to be serious that I just busted out laughing because they were so absurd. I won't say anything specific for spoiler purposes, but there's a part where a girl is running and she runs through a door and after the door is nothing. So she just falls 20 feet and lands on a vent and I fucking lost it. In the movie, it's supposed to be this really serious moment oh no, she fell. But when you're watching it, it's almost like an America's Funniest Home Videos where she just falls 20 feet and then is oh, my back, and then gets up and keeps running. It's completely ridiculous. I don't know why we can't just have characters that make decent decisions that are interesting. Andy, the android, is the only one who I find interesting at all. And this is a spoiler, so click ahead if you don't want to hear it, 30 seconds. At first, he's obligated to the main girl, Rain, and then he gets a new program from Bilbo, so he becomes a little bit more ruthless and makes very calculated decisions. And she's struggling with it, oh, is he really not human? He's just an artificial human, blah, blah, blah. And that's all interesting. But then he just kind of goes back to being who he was. And we're supposed to be told that that's correct. Like there's no debate there, there's no philosophy there, even though the decisions that he makes save their lives. The rest of the characters are just kind of annoying. They don't really have much background, they don't have much personality. To me, this is a movie that is pretty hollow. It's doing well on Rotten Tomatoes and blah, blah, blah. And I think it's the kind of movie that in about 3 months, maybe 6, people will watch it and go, eh. They'll start seeing the issues and they'll start to think that it's just not a very good movie because it's not. When you have a really simple movie, that's fine. It needs to be well executed. And this one is not. This is a movie that's both simple and dumb and doesn't really add much value to the franchise. It doesn't add much value storytelling wise. There's just not much there. And this isn't like a situation where they don't like the source material. You can tell that they like it and they appreciate it. It's just not good. I don't want to keep rambling. I'm trying not to be too spoilery because it just came out. But overall, it's just a middling movie with a horrendous ending. And I think most people will see it and then completely forget about it in about a week. And then it will never be talked about again. And we're going to keep wondering, why is the Alien franchise still going in the same direction where every movie is just a rehashed, shittier version of the originals? Like most franchises, that's where we're at. So if you've seen it, let me know what you think. I try to respond to all the comments that aren't just insults. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.